The morning sun rose over the fields of Nusajong like it had for the past 247 years. Jiwan stood at the edge of her family's farm, watching the golden lights spread across the wheat. She held a wooden bucket in one hand and an old metal tool in the other. The tool was broken, like most things from the old days, but she would fix it. She always did. Her brother Hyunwoo walked up behind her, his rifle slung over his shoulder. It was a simple gun, the kind their grandfather had made by hand. Nothing, like the weapons their ancestors brought from Earth, the ones that stopped working generations ago. "You're staring at the sky again," Hyunwoo said with a smile. Jiwan looked down, embarrassed. "Just thinking." "About Earth?" She nodded. Everyone knew she dreamed about the home world, the planet their people came from, so far away it might as well be a story. No one had heard from Earth in over 2 centuries. The great gates that let ships travel between stars had all gone dark during what the old books called the Great Silence. Nusajong was alone. "Earth probably forgot about us a long time ago," Hyunwoo said, but his voice was gentle. He knew his sister needed her dreams. Jiwan wanted to argue, but the bell in the village center started ringing. Not the normal bell for morning prayers or market day. This was the alarm bell, the one that hadn't rung in years. Hyunwoo's face went hard. He checked his rifle. "Get to the shelter." "What's happening?" "I don't know. Just go." But Jiwan didn't go. She followed her brother as he ran toward the village. Other militia members were gathering in the square, all of them carrying their simple weapons. Governor Daeho stood on the platform, his face pale. "Something's coming from the sky," the governor said. Old Minjae saw them with the telescope. Ships. Big ones. The crowd went silent. Ships meant visitors. Nusajong hadn't had visitors since before anyone alive was born. "Maybe it's Earth," someone said. "Maybe they finally came back." Jiwan felt hope bloom in her chest. Could it be true? Then the sky turned red. Beams of light, bright as the sun, fell from above. They struck the capital city 30 miles away, and even from this distance Jiwan could see the explosions. Mushroom clouds of fire rose into the air. The ground shook. People screamed. "That's not Earth," Hyunwoo whispered. More ships appeared in the sky, dark and angular, like insects. They were nothing like the smooth vessels in the old pictures from Earth. These were different. Wrong. The ships descended on the villages and smaller craft began to drop from them. When the first one landed in the wheat fields, its doors opened with a hiss of steam. Creatures emerged and Jiwan's blood ran cold. They were tall, taller than any human, with scaled skin that gleamed green and gold in the sunlight. They wore armor that looked like it was made from black metal, and they carried weapons that glowed with an inner light. Their eyes were yellow and cold. One of them raised its weapon and spoke in a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. A device on its chest translated the words into something Jiwan could understand. "Primitives of this world, you are now subjects of the Krithani Dominion. Surrender or die." Governor Daeho stepped forward, his hands raised. "We mean no harm, we're just farmers. The alien fired. The governor's chest exploded in a blast of superheated plasma, and his body fell to the ground, smoking. Everything became chaos. Hyunwoo and the other militia members opened fire with their rifles. The bullets bounced off the alien armor like pebbles. The Krithani laughed, a terrible sound, and returned fire. Their energy weapons cut through the militia like a scythe through wheat. "Run!" Hyunwoo grabbed Jiwon's arm and pulled her away from the square. All around them, the village was burning. The aliens moved through the streets, their weapons leaving trails of destruction. People died trying to flee. Children cried for parents who would never answer. Jiwan ran, her lungs burning, her mind unable to process what she was seeing. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. They made it to the old museum, the building where Jiwan worked. It was one of the few stone structures in the village, built around the relics from the original colony ship. Hyunwoo pushed her inside and barred the door. "Stay here. Don't come out no matter what." "Where are you going?" "To fight." He checked his rifle, even though they both knew it was useless. "Someone has to." Jiwan grabbed his arm. Don't leave me. Hyunwoo looked at her and his eyes were full of sadness and love. I have to, but you're smart, Jiwon. Smarter than all of us. If anyone can survive this, it's you. He kissed her forehead. I love you, sister. Then he was gone, back into the burning village. Jiwon stood alone in the museum, listening to the sounds of battle outside. Screams, explosions, the horrible laughter of the aliens. She wanted to curl up and hide, but something inside her refused to give up. She ran to the basement, where the oldest relics were kept. Things so ancient and broken that even she couldn't fix them. But there was one thing, one device that she'd always wondered about. It was a box with strange symbols on it, connected to what looked like an antenna array. The old logbook said it was a quantum beacon, whatever that meant, a device for calling for help across the stars. Her hands shook as she opened the panel. Inside was a maze of circuits and crystals covered in dust. She had no idea if it would work. The thing was over 200 years old, but she had to try. Following instructions from a damaged datapad, she began connecting wires and adjusting settings. The beacon hummed to life, its lights flickering weakly. She pressed the activation button and held her breath. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a single light turned green, and the beacon began to pulse with a steady rhythm. Above the planet, in his flagship, War Master Velcros of the Krithani Dominion monitored the conquest. The primitives were putting up no real resistance. His warriors reported that the planet would be fully subdued within hours. The humans here were weak, their technology laughable, their weapons useless. Then his communication officer reported something odd. War Master, we're detecting an outbound transmission, quantum frequency. Very old. Velcros examined the data. It was a distress signal, ancient beyond measure, using protocols that predated even Krithani technology. He traced its destination and laughed. They're calling to Earth, he told his officers. The human homeworld, hundreds of light years from here. He laughed again. Even if Earth still exists, even if they receive this signal, what could they do? By the time any help arrives, these primitives will be slaves or corpses. He ordered the transmission to continue. Let the humans call for help. Let them hope. It would make their defeat all the sweeter. In the museum basement, Jiwon watched the beacon pulse its signal into the void. She had no way of knowing if it was working, no way to know if anyone would hear it. But it was all she could do. Outside, the sounds of battle were fading. The screams were growing fewer. She could hear the aliens moving through the village, victorious. Jiwon sat down on the cold floor, her back against the wall, and cried. She cried for her brother, for the governor, for all the people dying above her. She cried for her world, conquered in a single day by enemies they never saw coming. But even as she cried, the beacon kept pulsing. Its signal reached out into the darkness between stars, calling to a home that might no longer exist, to people who might have forgotten them long ago. Jiwon didn't know it yet, but her signal had been heard. And Earth, far from forgetting, had been waiting 200 years for this moment. 15 light years away, deep in space, the warship Indomitable drifted through the darkness. It was huge, over 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons and armor plating. Inside its command center, Captain Minho sat in his chair, reviewing patrol reports with tired eyes. He had been fighting for 30 years, first against the Vekir raiders, then the Talresh swarms, then a dozen other species whose names blurred together in his memory. Every alien race seemed to want humanity dead, and humanity had learned to fight back harder than anyone expected. A warning tone pulled him from his thoughts. Captain, we're receiving a signal, his communication officer said. Lieutenant Yunji looked confused as she studied her screens. It's on the old emergency band. The one from before the Great Silence. Minho sat up straight. That's impossible. Those systems have been dead for 200 years. I know, sir. But look at this. She transferred the data to his screen. Minho stared at the information, his heart beating faster. The signal was a distress beacon, using quantum frequencies that humanity hadn't employed since the Gate network collapsed. And its source was listed as New Sejong. New Sejong, he whispered. That was a colony world. One of the first. I thought all the colonies were lost, sir. So did everyone else. Minho activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands battle stations. Navigation. Plot a full jump to these coordinates. Communications, send this data to Earth Command immediately. The Indomitable came alive. Crew members rushed to their posts. The ship's massive engines began to hum with power, but even as his ship prepared to move, Minho knew they needed more than one warship for this. If Nu Sejong had survived, if there were people there calling for help, they would need a fleet. On Earth, in the sprawling military complex beneath the Swiss mountains, Admiral Sunyoung received the data from the Indomitable. She stood in the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the disposition of humanity's forces across dozens of star systems. She was 60 years old, but looked younger, thanks to the medical technology that kept Earth soldiers fighting longer. Her black uniform was decorated with medals from a lifetime of war. People called her the Iron Admiral, the woman who had broken sieges and shattered enemy fleets. She read the report 3 times, making sure she understood it correctly. "A colony," she said to her staff, "one of ours. Still alive after all this time?" "And under attack, ma'am," her intelligence officer added. "The signal indicates a hostile force in orbit." Sunyoung felt anger burn in her chest. 200 years ago, Earth had sent out colony ships full of dreamers and explorers. Then the gates failed and those colonies were cut off, lost in the vastness of space. Earth had its own problems, fighting for survival against aliens who thought humanity would be easy prey. But Earth survived. More than survived. It became stronger, harder, forged in the fires of constant war, and now one of those lost colonies had been found calling for help. "Mobilize the 4th Fleet," Sunyoung ordered. "Everything. I want every ship, every soldier, every weapon we can spare. We're going to Nu Sejong and we're bringing our people home." Her staff moved quickly, sending orders across the global defense network. Within hours, warships began gathering in orbit above Earth. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and supply vessels. 15 ships in total, carrying enough firepower to level continents. In the military base on the moon, Lieutenant Taejin checked his armor for the 100th time. He was 25 years old and had been a soldier for 7 of those years. His powered armor stood in its rack, 2 meters of black composite plating and integrated weapon systems. It could stop plasma fire, enhance his strength tenfold, and keep him fighting in any environment from underwater to hard vacuum. "You nervous?" Private Yuna asked. She was adjusting her medical pack, making sure every supply was in place. Her own armor was painted with Red Cross symbols marking her as a combat medic. "No," Taejin lied. Yuna smiled.
"Liar, we all are."
"This is different from fighting raiders or pirates," she was right. The briefing had been clear. They were going to rescue a colony that had been lost for 2 centuries. People who had no idea what Earth had become, who probably thought they'd been abandoned and forgotten. Corporal Wanchik joined them, carrying his heavy plasma cannon over one shoulder like it weighed nothing. The big man was grinning. "I heard the aliens attacking the colony are Krithani. Those scaled jerks have been pushing into our space for months. About time we pushed back." "This isn't about revenge," Taejin said. "It's about saving people. Can it be both?" Wanchik replied cheerfully. Their sergeant called the squad to attention. The briefing was simple and direct. The 4th Fleet would jump to Nu Sejong, engage any hostile forces, and deploy ground troops to secure the planet. Their mission was to protect the colonists and eliminate all threats. "Remember," the sergeant said, "these people have been alone for 200 years. They're going to be scared. They might not even believe we're from Earth. So when you hit the ground, you identify yourselves clearly. You protect civilians. You show them that Earth never forgot them." Taejin felt a swell of pride. This was why he'd joined the military, not to conquer or destroy, but to protect. To make sure humanity's scattered children were never alone again. The fleet gathered in high orbit and Admiral Sunyoung gave the order from her flagship. The ships activated their full drives, technology that had taken Earth 100 years of desperate research to perfect. Reality bent around them, space folding in ways that made the old gate network look primitive. In an instant that felt like forever, the fleet crossed 15 light-years. They emerged at the edge of the Nu Sejong system, and immediately their sensors lit up with contacts. A Krithani fleet sat in orbit around the planet, 12 warships of various sizes. On the surface, the sensors detected fires, explosions, and the signatures of energy weapons being used against primitive targets. Sun Yung's face could have been carved from stone. All ships, weapons free. Target the Krithani fleet. Show them what happens when you attack our people. The Earth warships accelerated, their advanced engines pushing them to speeds the Krithani couldn't match. The enemy fleet was just beginning to react when the first salvo hit. Rail cannons fired, launching tungsten rods at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectiles punched through Krithani shields like they weren't there, tearing through armor and hull. One enemy cruiser simply came apart, its spine broken by the kinetic impact. Missile pods opened, releasing swarms of smart weapons that wove through space, avoiding point defense fire with programmed evasion patterns. They struck engines, weapons arrays, and command bridges with surgical precision. The Indomitable fired its main weapon, a particle beam that turned matter into plasma. The beam caught a Krithani destroyer broadside and carved it in half. Both pieces tumbled through space, trailing atmosphere and debris. Warmaster Velcros, aboard his flagship in orbit, watched his fleet die. He had expected an easy conquest of primitives. Instead, he faced warships more advanced than anything in Krithani space, operated by warriors who fought with terrifying efficiency. "Who are these humans?" his tactical officer screamed. "These are not the primitives from the surface," Velcros realized. "These are from Earth itself." He had heard stories about Earth, rumors from other species about the human homeworld, how it had been written off as destroyed or irrelevant after the Great Silence. But the species that attacked him now was far from destroyed. They fought like demons, their technology outclassing his own by generations. "Retreat to the planet's surface," Velcros ordered. "Use the primitives as shields. The Earth fleet won't risk hitting their own people." His remaining ships dove toward New Sejong, seeking cover in the atmosphere. But Velcros had badly misjudged his enemy. Admiral Sun Yung's voice came across all frequencies, speaking perfect Krithani. "You came to our world. You attacked our people. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. Ground forces launch when ready." From the Earth carriers, thousands of insertion pods dropped like rain. They were black and angular, designed to survive atmospheric entry at terminal velocity. Inside each pod was a soldier in powered armor, weapons loaded, ready for war. Taejin felt his pod shake as it hit the atmosphere. The temperature display showed the outer hull heating to thousands of degrees, but inside he was comfortable, cushioned by inertial dampeners. His squad was on the same trajectory, their pods forming a tight formation. 30 seconds to impact, the pod's computer announced in a calm voice. Taejin checked his rifle one last time. It was a weapon that could fire in multiple modes, from standard bullets to plasma bolts to explosive shells. His armor systems linked to the gun, feeding him targeting data directly into his visual display. "Remember the mission," he said over the squad channel. "Protect the colonists. Eliminate all threats." "Understood," Yuna and Wonshik responded together. The pod struck the ground like a meteor, and Taejin felt the impact through his armor's shock absorption. The sides exploded outward with shaped charges, and he stepped out into the light of a burning village. All around him, hundreds of other pods were landing, disgorging soldiers, and in the distance he could see the Krithani forces, their weapons firing, completely unaware of what was about to hit them. Taejin's boots hit the ground, and his armor's sensors immediately flooded his vision with information. Enemy positions marked in red, friendly forces in blue, civilian signatures in green, hiding in buildings and basements all around the village. He raised his rifle and moved forward. 20 meters away, a Krithani warrior turned toward him, raising an energy weapon. The alien's eyes widened when it saw the armored human, but it was too slow. Taejin's rifle cracked twice, and the Krithani fell, its armor pierced by rounds designed to penetrate military-grade plating. All around the village, Earth soldiers were emerging from their pods. The Krithani opened fire with their plasma weapons, and the air filled with green bolts of superheated energy. But the humans' armor absorbed the hits, their shields glowing briefly with each impact. "Advance by squads," Taejin ordered. Wonshik suppressed that building on the left. "Yuna, scan for wounded colonists." Wonshik's plasma cannon roared to life, sending a stream of white-hot fire into a building where Krithani soldiers had taken cover. The structure's wall exploded and the aliens inside scattered. Yuna's armor sensors swept the area, detecting life signs through walls and rubble. "I'm reading civilians in the basement of the stone building ahead," she reported. "Multiple wounded signatures." "Then that's where we're going," Taejin said. All units converge on my position. We have friendlies to extract. The squad moved through the burning village with practiced coordination. They had trained for urban combat in 100 simulated environments, fought in real battles on a dozen worlds. This was what they did. A Krithani soldier jumped from a rooftop, trying to land on Tajan from above. The lieutenant's armor detected the threat and automatically engaged, rotating his torso and bringing his rifle up. He fired without thinking, muscle memory and neural interface working together. The alien dropped dead before it hit the ground. They reached the stone building. The door was barred from inside, and Tajan could hear movement within. He switched his external speakers on. "This is Lieutenant Tajan of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to help. Please open the door." Silence. Then a woman's voice, scared and uncertain. Earth is real?" "Very real, ma'am. And we need to get you out of here. Can you open the door?" The bar scraped and the door opened a crack. A young woman peered out, her face dirty and tear-streaked. When she saw Tajan's armored form, she gasped and tried to close the door again. Tajan reached up and retracted his helmet. The armor folded back, revealing his human face. "It's okay. I'm human just like you. We came from Earth to help." The woman stared at him and tears began flowing down her face again. "You came? You really came. We'll always come," Tajan said gently. "Now please let us help you." Inside the basement, Jiwan huddled with a dozen other villagers. When the armored soldiers entered, their weapons ready, she felt terror and hope warring in her chest. These couldn't be human. Humans didn't have armor like this, weapons like this. But then the one in front removed his helmet and she saw his face. Human. Definitely human. And his eyes were kind, even though they held the hardness of someone who had seen terrible things. "My name is Yuna," another soldier said, her helmet retracting to show a woman's face. "I'm a medic. Let me check your injuries." Yuna moved through the colonists with efficient care, her armor's medical scanners analyzing each person. She pulled supplies from her pack, devices that sealed wounds and injected medicine. An old man with a burned arm cried out in pain, but after Yuna sprayed something on it, his face relaxed. "The bleeding has stopped," he whispered in wonder. "The pain is gone." "Nanite-enhanced regeneration gel," Yuna explained. "Your arm will be fully healed in a few days." Outside, the battle for the village raged on. More Earth soldiers had landed, and they were systematically clearing the Krithani from every building and street. The aliens fought back desperately, but they were outmatched in every way. A Krithani officer rallied his troops for a counterattack, leading a charge down the main street. They fired their weapons continuously, trying to overwhelm the humans with volume of fire, but the Earth soldiers simply formed a line, their shields overlapping and returned fire with devastating accuracy. The Krithani charge broke against that line like water against stone. Bodies fell, and the survivors retreated in disorder. In orbit above the planet, Admiral Sun Young watched the battle through real-time feeds from her soldiers' cameras. The ground operation was proceeding well, but War Master Velcros was still broadcasting threats from his position in the ruined capital city. "If you do not withdraw your forces, I will execute the primitives we have captured," the Krithani commander declared. "Their deaths will be on your hands, humans." Sun Young's expression didn't change. She opened a channel directly to Velcros, making sure every Krithani soldier on the planet could hear her response. "You attacked our world. You killed our people. You took our citizens prisoner." Her voice was cold and hard. "There will be no negotiation. There will be no withdrawal. You will release your prisoners and surrender, or you will die. These are your only options," Velcros snarled over the channel. "You would sacrifice your own people to destroy us? We will save our people. You are the only one who will die here today." Sun Young turned to her tactical officer. "Prepare orbital strike. Precision targeting. I want every Krithani position marked and ready to fire." "Yes, ma'am." On the ground, Captain Minho led a company of soldiers toward the capital. He had landed with the second wave, bringing heavy armor and artillery. His forces moved in formation, drones scouting ahead, sensors sweeping continuously. They found the first group of colonist prisoners outside a burned-out town. 20 humans bound and guarded by Krithani soldiers. The aliens had placed them in the open, using them as human shields. Minho studied the situation through his rifle scope. The prisoners were in the center, Krithani warriors positioned around them. Any direct assault would risk hitting the colonists. "Snipers, do you have clean shots?" he asked over the command channel. Affirmative, Captain. All targets marked. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, fire. 6 rifles cracked simultaneously. 6 Krithani guards dropped dead. Each shot placed with impossible precision through gaps in their armor. The remaining guards spun around in confusion, trying to find where the shots came from. They never got the chance. Minho's company charged forward, moving fast despite their armor. They overran the guard position in seconds, killing the aliens before they could threaten the prisoners. A colonist woman looked up at Minho with disbelieving eyes. You saved us. That's our job, ma'am. Minho cut her bonds with a knife. Can you walk? We need to get you to safety. My son. They took my son to the capital. Please, you have to save him. Minho looked toward the distant city where smoke still rose from the governor's palace. We will, ma'am. I promise you we will. His promise was interrupted by a communication from Admiral Sun Young. Captain Minho, be advised. Velcros has executed 3 hostages and is threatening more. I'm authorizing orbital fire support. Mark all friendly positions. Minho felt anger burn in his gut. The Krithani were learning the hard way that threatening human civilians was the worst mistake they could make. Understood, Admiral. All units mark your positions and take cover. Orbital strike incoming. He turned to the freed colonists. Get down and stay down. This might get loud. In space, the Indomitable adjusted its orbit, bringing its main weapons to bear on the capital city. The targeting computers identified every Krithani position, carefully plotting firing solutions that would avoid any civilian structures where colonists might be hiding. Fire, Sun Young ordered. Beams of concentrated energy lanced down from orbit, moving at the speed of light. They struck Krithani fortifications with surgical precision, turning armor and stone into vapor. Explosions bloomed across the capital, each one placed exactly where it needed to be. War Master Velcros watched his defenses crumble, and for the first time in his military career, he felt genuine fear. These humans weren't like any enemy the Krithani had faced. They didn't negotiate. They didn't retreat. They simply came forward, methodical and relentless, destroying everything in their path. Pull back to the palace, he ordered. We make our final stand there. But as his warriors retreated, they found Earth soldiers already waiting for them. The humans had somehow flanked them, cut off their retreat, surrounded them completely. They stood in their black armor like ancient war gods, weapons ready. Taijin and his squad were part of that cordon. They had advanced through the city while the orbital strike provided cover, moving fast to cut off the Krithani escape routes. Now they waited, forming an unbreakable line. Inside the palace ruins, Jiwon's brother Hyunwoo was still alive. He had been captured during the initial invasion, along with 30 other militia members. They were bound and forced to kneel in the palace courtyard while Krithani guards stood over them. Hyunwoo had watched 3 of his friends die, executed by Velcros to make his threats seem real. He had closed his eyes, waiting for his own death, when the sky lit up with orbital fire. The Krithani guards looked up in terror as their positions exploded around them. In the confusion, Hyunwoo threw himself sideways, rolling away from his captors. Other prisoners did the same, scrambling for any cover they could find. Then the Earth soldiers came. The sun rose over New Sejong the next morning, revealing a world changed forever. Smoke still drifted from burned buildings, but the shooting had stopped. The Krithani were dead or captured, their ships destroyed or fleeing into deep space. Earth soldiers walked through the villages, helping colonists from their hiding places. Ji-won emerged from the museum basement into the daylight. The village she had known all her life was damaged, scarred by weapons and fire, but it still stood. And more importantly, people were alive. Neighbors she thought were dead came out of cellars and ruins, crying and embracing each other. She saw Taejin standing near the village square, his helmet off, talking into a communication device. When he finished, he noticed her watching and walked over. "Are you all right?" he asked. Ji-won nodded, though she wasn't sure if it was true. Everything felt unreal, like a dream she might wake from at any moment. "My brother, Hyunwoo. He went to fight and I haven't seen him since." "What's his full name?" "Hyunwoo Kim. He was in the militia." Taejin spoke into his communicator, asking questions, waiting for responses. After a moment, his face softened into a smile. "He's alive. He was held prisoner in the capital, but Captain Minho's team rescued him. He's at the medical station now, getting checked over." Ji-won felt her knees go weak with relief. Taejin caught her arm, steadying her. Easy. When did you last eat or drink anything? I don't remember. Come on. We've set up a field station with food and water. He guided her gently through the village. As they walked, Jiwon saw more Earth soldiers working everywhere. Some were treating wounded colonists with equipment that seemed like magic. Others were clearing rubble or repairing damaged buildings with tools that worked impossibly fast. At the field station, long tables held containers of food and clean water. Colonists lined up and soldiers handed out supplies with efficient kindness. Jiwon took a container of something warm that smelled wonderful and a bottle of cold water. The food tasted better than anything she remembered eating. This is ration pack number 7. Taejin explained, sitting beside her. Not fancy, but it has all the nutrition you need. We brought enough to feed everyone for months if necessary. Why? Jiwon asked. Why did you come? After 200 years, why did Earth remember us? Taejin looked at her seriously. Earth never forgot. We just couldn't reach you until now. He told her the story then, speaking in simple words. How the Great Silence had cut Earth off from everything. How alien species attacked humanity's homeworld, thinking humans would be easy prey. How Earth fought back year after year, decade after decade, never surrendering, never giving up. We became good at war because we had to. Taejin said quietly. Every advance in technology went into weapons, ships, armor. Every person learned to fight. We lost billions of people, but we survived. And as soon as we developed full drive technology that could cross the distances without gates, we started looking for the lost colonies. You came all this way just to find us? We came because you're human. Because you're our people. Because Earth takes care of its own no matter how far away they are. Jiwon felt tears on her face again, but this time they weren't from fear or sadness. I activated the beacon. The quantum beacon in the museum. I didn't know if it would work, if anyone would hear it. We heard, Taejin said. And we came as fast as we could. Across the village, Hyunwoo sat in a medical tent while Yuna examined him. She ran a scanner over his body, checking for injuries. His wrists were bruised from the ropes and he had cuts and burns from the battle, but nothing serious. You're lucky, Yuna said, applying spray medicine to his wounds. These should heal completely in a few days. Lucky, Hyunwoo repeated bitterly. I watched my friends die. My governor. My neighbors. The aliens killed them like they were nothing. Yuna's hands paused in their work. I know, I'm sorry you had to see that. War is terrible and you weren't prepared for it. But you were. You and your soldiers, you fought them like it was nothing. Like you'd done it 1,000 times. We have, Yuna said softly. Earth has been at war for 2 centuries. Every one of us has lost people we care about. Every one of us has seen things we wish we could forget. But we keep fighting because someone has to protect humanity. Hyunwoo looked at her, seeing past the advanced armor and technology to the person underneath. She couldn't be much older than him, maybe 25 or 26, but her eyes held experiences that aged her beyond her years. Will you teach us? He asked suddenly. How to fight like you do. So if the aliens come back, we can protect ourselves. Yuna smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. That's exactly what we plan to do. Earth isn't going to leave you alone again. We're going to rebuild your defenses, give you weapons and training, make sure you can stand with us as equals. In the capital city, Admiral Sun-young walked through the ruins of the governor's palace with Captain Minho at her side. They surveyed the damage, making notes of what would need to be rebuilt. Around them, engineering teams were already at work, using advanced equipment to clear debris and shore up damaged structures. The casualties? Sun-young asked. 3,000 colonists dead or missing, Minho reported. Another 5,000 wounded, though our medical teams say most will recover fully. The Krythony hit the capital city hardest. Sun-young's jaw tightened. 3,000 people. 3,000 humans who had been living peaceful lives until aliens decided to attack them. And our forces? 12 wounded, none seriously. The armor held up well. 0 fatalities. It was what Sun-young expected, but it still bothered her. The technological gap between Earth's military and the colonists was enormous. If Earth had arrived even a day later, thousands more would have died. We need to make sure this never happens again, she said. Not here, not anywhere. Every human colony in this sector needs to be found, protected, and integrated into our defense network. Agreed, ma'am. Intelligence estimates there could be 20 or more lost colonies within fold range. Then we'll find them all. Sun-young looked up at the sky, where her fleet maintained orbit. The galaxy wrote us off as dead or irrelevant. Time to show them how wrong they were. A young colonist approached nervously, a man in his 40s wearing simple farmer's clothes. He bowed deeply. Admiral? I'm Deho's nephew, Gihun. I've been asked to speak for the colony until we can hold proper elections. Sun Young studied him. I'm sorry about your uncle. He died bravely. Thank you, ma'am. I wanted to ask about Earth's intentions. Now that you've saved us, what happens next? Do we become subjects of Earth's government? Sun Young shook her head. No. You're not subjects or conquered people. You're citizens who were cut off from home through no fault of your own. Earth wants to offer you protection, technology, and a place in humanity's future, but you'll govern yourselves as you see fit. Gihun looked surprised. Really, you're not going to take control? We didn't come here to rule you. We came to save you. Sun Young smiled slightly. Though we will ask that you sign a mutual defense treaty. Earth will protect New Sejong with our military, and in return, we'd like permission to build a base here and recruit volunteers for our forces. That seems more than fair, Gihun said, relief clear in his voice. I'm sure the colony will agree. Over the next few days, Earth's forces transformed New Sejong. Massive supply ships landed, carrying everything from medical equipment to construction materials. Engineers worked alongside colonists to repair damaged buildings and build new ones. Fusion reactors were installed, providing unlimited clean power. Water purification systems ensured everyone had safe drinking water. But the most amazing changes came in technology sharing. Earth didn't just give the colonists advanced equipment. They taught them how to use it, maintain it, and eventually build it themselves. Jiwon found herself in a classroom with other technically minded colonists, learning about computer systems and engineering principles that seemed like magic. The instructor was an Earth engineer named Bora, a woman in her 30s with endless patience. She showed them holographic displays, quantum processors, and fabrication devices that could create complex objects from raw materials. I know this is overwhelming, Bora said. Your colony has been isolated for 2 centuries, but you're not stupid or primitive. Your ancestors knew all of this once, and you can learn it again. We'll start with basics and build from there. Jiwon absorbed everything like a sponge. The quantum beacon she had activated made sense now. The old technical manuals she'd studied had new meaning. She stayed after class every day, asking questions, practicing on equipment, dreaming bigger dreams than she'd ever allowed herself before. Hyunwoo, meanwhile, joined the training program for the Colonial Defense Force. Taejin was one of the instructors, teaching the militia members how to use modern weapons and tactics. The training was hard, pushing the colonists to their limits, but nobody complained. They had seen what happened when they couldn't defend themselves. The rifle you're holding can penetrate most armor up to military grade, Taejin explained to the class. It has 3 firing modes and a smart targeting system that links to the helmet display. But technology is only part of being a soldier. The rest is training, discipline, and knowing how to work as a team. He put them through drills, teaching them how to move, how to communicate, how to cover each other. 3 weeks after the liberation, New Sejong looked like a different world. The scars of battle remained, but new buildings stood beside the old ones. Solar panels and fusion reactors powered lights that burned through the night. Clean water flowed from pipes that Earth engineers had installed. Children played in streets that had been battlefields, their laughter a sign that life was returning to normal. Jiwon stood in what used to be the museum, but was now a proper technical center. Holographic displays floated in the air around her, showing schematics for a communication array. She manipulated the images with hand gestures, adjusting components and running simulations. Bora watched from nearby, nodding with approval. You're a natural at this, the Earth engineer said. Have you thought about joining the technical corps? We could use someone with your intuition. Jiwon paused, considering. A month ago, her biggest dream was fixing old machines. Now she was designing new systems with technology she hadn't known existed. I want to help New Sejong first. Make sure we can stand on our own. But after that, maybe. That's a good answer. Loyal and practical, Bora smiled. Earth will always need engineers, and we prefer ones who understand what they're protecting. Outside the technical center, Hyunwoo led a squad of newly trained Defense Force members through patrol drills. They wore light armor now. Not as advanced as Earth military gear, but far better than the simple clothes they'd fought in before. Their rifles were modern, linked to helmet displays that showed tactical information. Taejin observed from the side, calling out corrections when needed. One chick, you're bunching up. Maintain spacing. Yuna, check that corner before you pass it. The squad members adjusted their positions, moving with coordination that would have been impossible a few weeks ago. They weren't Earth soldiers yet, but they were learning fast. After the drill, Hyunwoo approached Taijin, removing his helmet. How did we do? Better. You're thinking like a unit now instead of individuals. Keep practicing and you'll be ready for anything. Taijin paused. I heard you applied for the Earth Defense Force Academy. Hyunwoo nodded. My sister is learning to build things. I want to learn to protect things. New Sejong is safe now, but other colonies aren't. If I can help save them like you saved us, I want to. Taijin felt proud, though he tried not to show it too much. It's hard training. Harder than anything you've done here. I know, but I've seen what happens when we can't defend ourselves. I won't let that happen to anyone else if I can help it. Then you'll make a good soldier, Taijin said, clapping him on the shoulder. The fleet leaves tomorrow for New Busan. After we secure that colony, we'll be taking on new recruits. If you're serious, you can come with us. Hyunwoo's eyes widened. Really, that soon? Earth doesn't waste time. We have too many colonies to find and not enough soldiers to protect them all. We need good people, and you've proven yourself. That evening, Admiral Sun Young held a gathering in the rebuilt town square. Colonists and Earth soldiers mixed together, sharing food and stories. It was a farewell party, though nobody wanted to say the word out loud. Ji-hoon, the acting governor, stood on a platform and raised his hands for silence. When the crowd quieted, he spoke in a voice that carried across the square. 3 weeks ago, we thought we were going to die. The aliens came from the sky with weapons we couldn't fight, and we believed this was the end. But Earth remembered us. Earth came for us. Earth soldiers fell from the sky and saved us all. The crowd cheered, and several Earth soldiers looked embarrassed by the attention. Today, we signed the treaty that makes us officially part of humanity's family again, Gi-hun continued. New Sejong will govern itself, but we will stand with Earth in defense of all human worlds. We will contribute what we can to the common good, and we will never forget what Earth did for us. Admiral Sun Young stepped forward to sign the document, her signature appearing on the holographic display. Gi-hun signed next, and the crowd erupted in applause. Later, as the party continued, Ji-won found Taijin sitting by himself at the edge of the square. She sat down beside him without asking permission. You're leaving tomorrow, she said. It wasn't a question. Yes, there's another colony that needs help. We can't stay here when others are in danger. I know. I just wish you could stay longer. Ji-won felt foolish saying it. She'd only known this soldier for 3 weeks, but he'd shown her a universe bigger than she'd ever imagined. He'd given her brother confidence and purpose. He'd made her believe that humans could be strong and kind at the same time. I'll come back, Taijin promised. New Sejong is part of Earth's patrol route now. We'll check on you regularly. Make sure you're safe and have everything you need. Will you teach me more about Earth? About where you come from? Taijin smiled. Earth is complicated, beautiful and terrible at the same time. We have cities that reach into the clouds and oceans that cover half the planet. We have billions of people speaking hundreds of languages, and we've been fighting for survival for so long that sometimes we forget how to stop fighting. But you're good people. I can see that. We try to be. War makes us hard, but we try not to let it make us cruel. He looked at her seriously. You should visit Earth someday. See the homeworld for yourself. I think you'd like it. Maybe I will, Ji-won said. And for the first time, she believed it was possible. The next morning, the Fourth Fleet prepared to depart. Supply ships had already left, carrying materials to the next colony. Now the warships were ready to follow. Marines boarded shuttles that would take them up to the carriers in orbit. Taijin stood with his squad, checking their gear one final time. Yuna and Won-shik were in good spirits, joking with each other as they always did before a mission. Around them, other soldiers did the same, their easy confidence a sign of how routine this had become for them. Hyunwoo approached in his new trainee uniform, carrying a single bag with his possessions. He looked nervous and excited at the same time. Ready? Taijin asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Good, stay close to Yuna during the flight. She'll show you where everything is on the ship. Ji-won came running up, nearly out of breath. She hugged her brother tightly. Be safe. Write to me when you can. I will. You be safe too. Don't blow up the technical center with your experiments. That was one time, and it was a small fire. Jiwon protested, making them both laugh. She turned to Taijin. Take care of him, please. I will. He's one of us now. The shuttle lifted off and Jiwon watched it rise into the sky until it became a bright point of light, then vanished. Around her, other colonists were saying goodbye to friends and family who had volunteered for Earth's forces. New Sejong was contributing its own people to the defense of humanity now. In orbit, the Fourth Fleet assembled into formation. Admiral Sun Young sat in her command chair aboard the Indomitable, reviewing the intelligence reports on New Busan. The colony was larger than New Sejong, with nearly 1 million people spread across 3 continents, and the Valorian invasion force was already in the system preparing their assault. All ships report ready, Admiral, Captain Minho announced. Then let's not keep them waiting. Navigation, initiate full jump on my mark. Sun Young leaned forward in her chair. Mark. Reality twisted and the fleet vanished from New Sejong space. 3 full jumps later, they emerged in a new system, ready to do it all again. On the planet below, sensors detected the fleet's arrival. In a bunker deep underground, a woman named Sora stared at her ancient computer screen in disbelief. Ships. Human ships. The identification codes were old, from before the Great Silence, but they were definitely human. She activated the emergency beacon, just as someone on New Sejong had done weeks before. And like before, the response came immediately. This is Admiral Sun Young of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to help. Hold on, New Busan. Earth has come for you. Sora started crying, her hands shaking as she broadcast a reply. We're here. We're still here. Thank you for not forgetting us. We could never forget, Sun Young replied. You're human. You're family, and Earth takes care of its own. Across the galaxy, on dozens of forgotten worlds, ancient beacons began to activate. Some were triggered by desperate colonists under attack. Others were found by Earth scout ships searching systematically through space. Each one represented a lost piece of humanity, waiting to be found. And each time a beacon was activated, Earth responded the same way. Ships folded through space, soldiers dropped from the sky, and the message was always the same. We heard you. We're coming. We will never leave you behind. The Krithani Dominion learned this lesson first, but they wouldn't be the last. Species across the galaxy that had dismissed humanity as dead or irrelevant were about to discover a terrible truth. Earth had spent 2 centuries fighting for survival, and it had become very, very good at war. But more than weapons and tactics, Earth had something that made it truly dangerous. It had loyalty. It had memory. It had an unbreakable determination to protect its own, no matter the cost, no matter the distance. The galaxy had forgotten the human colonies, abandoned them to their fate, written them off as lost. But Earth remembered. Earth always remembered. And now Earth soldiers were falling from the sky across 100 worlds, bringing fire and fury to any who threatened humanity. They came in ships that could cross impossible distances. They wore armor that could withstand any weapon.